Hi, Gwen. Thank you so much for joining me today. For any of you who are out there, Gwen White is here, and today we're going to be talking about your potential with human design and the Enneagram. So, welcome, Gwen, and thank you so much for saying yes to this. I really appreciate it.
I am so thrilled to be here, Julie. Thank you so much for the introduction and for inviting me. This is going to be a lot of fun. Every time you and I get together, we always have such fun conversations. So why not record it
I
and
fully
share
agree with
it?
you. So Gwen and I met through LinkedIn. I DM'd her. We were chatting about PQ intelligence, ended up talking a little bit more. We did a typing session. Gwen and I are both fives on the Enneagram. So, of course, I get her, she gets me. So there's always this kind of cool connection without really even knowing a ton about each other, which is really neat. She's the founder of Quietly Influential, a sales and business strategist who helps heart centered, introverted entrepreneurs unlock their natural magnetism and sell with ease without the burnout. Blending human design with sustainable sales strategies, Gwen empowers her clients to work with their energy, not against it, so they can attract dream clients, increase their income, and grow their businesses in a way that feels deeply aligned.
Yes.
I love this. And as an introvert, I really love it. So thank you for doing this work. We need people like you in the world doing this work. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this work. And I came to it because, yeah, as an introvert who has a very extensive background in sales and business development. I lived that burnout, and it kind of took me out of the game for a period. And I, want to help anyone who is out there who may be struggling, either avoiding sales altogether or, who is exhausted, etc. And yeah.
I didn't even think about talking about this, but that's super cool that sad that you had this burnout. Impressive that you were in sales as an introvert. And I'm just so stoked that you came up with some system to help the rest of us who aren't extroverted and natural born sellers to find their natural way. I just think that's so beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it is truly, a passion of mine.
That's
So
great.
thank you.
That's great. So I always start with asking, and there's a little backstory to this. What is your superpower?
Hmm. So it's interesting. I look at my life, and there is a common thread that I think it's really speaks to my superpower. It's also evident in my own human design, and it's really about the those things that I am like passionate about, that I like deep dive into, nose dive into, and sharing them, um, and sharing them with my people, not with the world, but with my people, my network. And it seems to be something that first lights me up. I have so much fun doing those things. And then I think second, I see things line up, like a lot of synchronicities when I'm doing those things. So I recognize like that whole idea of ikigai, like this is what the world wants from me kind of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's really, and it's interesting. I don't know the word to describe it, but if I look at human design, it's really weird. There's an aspect in human design called incarnation cross, and mine in the traditional human design system is called the incarnation cross of contagion. So it's like, it's kind of a weird word, but it's like, yeah, it's like people catch, the bug. They catch the AI bug for me, or they catch the human design bug for me, or they catch, the introvert friendly sales bug. So yeah,
Wow, that's really interesting.
isn't it?
It is because I feel like as a five, you're a five also. we have the ability to see things that people don't necessarily see.
Yeah.
And at the same time, want to share this information, this passion, right? And there's
Right.
contagion quality of a five. And some fives just stay back, and stay introverted, and especially if they don't know that they're a five, they'll just stay. But
Right.
now knowing what you know about your human design, as I know about my type, I also know that I need to get out there, that I can't just read my books and hang out in my mudroom. So it is part of the design, I would imagine, that you need to put yourself out there a little bit to spread
Yeah.
kind of this great news of what you're doing. So
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like my Enneagram type and my human design really like speak to that superpower in such an interesting way. So yeah. Yeah, I feel like, again, this conversation is so cool because Enneagram and human design, when they come together, there's something really, I think, very magical that is revealed. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this
I am too.
more.
I love that you use the word magical, of course. Um, so we're going to talk about a few things today. I hope we can get actually through them, because I know that we can like spiral into some yumminess, but we may need to kind of pull back a little bit. So
Yes.
I first would like to talk with you about the centers, what the centers mean in human design. And then I'll talk about the centers in the Enneagram. We'll see how they match up, because I think that could be a good starting point. So
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. I love this idea. So in human design, if you get your body graph, and of course, I'll make sure everybody has a link so that they can get their human design chart or body graph. It features 9 energy centers, and each has its own unique domain. So, for example, the head or crown center is the center of inspiration and questions and mental pressure. Um, and if you want, I could name off all 9 centers and kind of what their functions
I
are.
would like that, because I'm trying to piece together. I know there are 9, obviously there are 9 Enneagram types, but I'm
Yes,
curious about the head, the heart, and the body centered type
yes,
based on human design. So yeah, please
exactly.
share. Maybe we'll start with head, and then I can talk about the head center and
Yeah,
the types. So
yeah. And in human design, there are actually 2 centers that kind of make up the kind of head or mental area.
okay.
So there's that head and crown center, and that one actually like sticks out of the top of the head if you're looking at a body graph.
Mhm.
And again, when we think about the idea or concept of inspiration, it's really kind of interesting to think about, downloads or uploads, or that information is constantly being shared. We think about the Akashic record and that kind of thing, and so I think the head or crown center, again, coming from the chakra system, really kind of speaks to that idea. Just beneath that center is the ajna center or mind center sometimes, and it's all about conceptualizing, thinking, opinions, um, and it's a center of mental awareness as opposed to mental pressure.
Okay.
So there are again nuanced differences in these centers. Below that is the throat center, all about naturally communication, manifestation. Just beneath that is the G center, and it's the only center in human design that has this diamond shape. It's all about identity, direction, love, purpose. And then there's separately, interestingly, there's this little center kind of off to the right of that, or left, depending on how you're looking at your human design chart, called the heart center. It's sometimes also called the ego or will center. And it's all about willpower, self worth, determination. It's all about it. And when we look at, frankly, the G center and the heart center, it's like the G center is almost like the spiritual heart. And
Okay.
then the heart or will center is like the material or 3D heart.
Okay.
Um, just kind of right around there in the center is the sacral center. And then off to one side is the solar plexus center. Sorry, I didn't even talk about the sacral center. It's all about life force energy, sexuality, work capacity. Solar plexus is the center of emotions. And then on the kind of complete opposite side is the spleen center. And it's the center of intuition, fear, survival, environmental awareness. And then at the very bottom is the root center. And it's all about stillness and pressure, stress, grounding. And it's kind of all about kind of that adrenalized energy. It's a center of somewhat like the head center at the top, down at the bottom. It's also a center of pressure, but it's more about physical pressure, kind of that pressure to do.
Okay. So when you get your chart, does your chart show like you're more head, more of, I mean, I know we all have the 9 chakras, and it's 9 chakras, correct? It's 9 chakras.
Well, in the traditional chakra system, there are, 7 main chakras.
Okay.
So in human design, there were 2 centers that actually split and created 9. And that
Okay.
there are different evolutions that occur in human design. So yeah, that is an evolution that occurred.
I love these
a long time ago.
Systems that get to just do what they want when they want. I love it. So 7 and plus the 2, I get it. Now, when you were going through them, I was, of course, trying to find the correlation. That's why we're here today. I'm curious as to, say, your graph. Because I know that you're a 5. 5 in the Enneagram world is a head center. Does your, does this light up more than the other sections, or how do you see that they're not all equal?
Yeah, no, interestingly, in my chart, the top of the chart, the head, the ajna, and the throat center are all what are called undefined. So they're open, which means those are centers. When you have an undefined or open center, one that's not colored in on your chart, it's essentially an area where you're more perceptual, where you're taking in and amplifying the energy around you, the energy of other people, the energy of the environment. So it's really interesting that my Enneagram type 5 is the investigator. But yes, what I think kind of speaks more to that than just the undefined centers is there are some gate placements. Now, again, we're getting kind of more in the weeds here with human design. But yeah, once you start getting into human design, there are some interesting nuances that can really more kind of speak to that investigator. More so than, say, just centers.
So do you have, so does everybody have undefined?
Not necessarily. It's rare, but there are individuals out in the world that have every center of their chart defined. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not perceptual per se, because there are going to be parts, other aspects of their chart that are undefined, that are not quote unquote activated. And so they are still bringing in energy. It's just they are really more designed to be sort of fixed in how they express themselves and how they function in the world. So yeah, they're more the type of people who are really here to be the ones providing the energy that others are picking up on. And I think it's really interesting when we look at, humanity, how, some people are constantly observing while others are more observed. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But
that's
yes,
interesting.
no design is by accident. Every design is exactly as it should be. So yeah.
And whether you took that, whether you got your chart read, what's the terminology there, Gwen? How does that, is that
Yeah, you can have a reading, a consultation. Yeah,
and
there's lots of different ways to
chart?
describe that. But
The
yeah,
term is your chart, and that your chart's not going to change, correct, over time?
exactly.
Okay.
Your expression of your chart can change tremendously, but yes, your design is your design. Yeah.
Okay. So with the Enneagram, we do have three centers. Everybody has three centers of intelligence, just like we all have access to our seven chakras in the case of human design, those offshoots of nine. And the goal of the Enneagram really is to balance all three. So that's why I was a little bit curious about those people who are undefined and they are balanced, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure what that would be called. But most people aren't balanced. So, right. I mean, we have in the Enneagram, we have heart-centered, head-centered, and body-centered people. That doesn't mean that we don't have the opposite of those. We don't have those other centers, but we just don't rely on them like we rely on our predominant center of intelligence, which in the case of the five, 6, and 7 are head, 2, 3, and 4 are heart, and 8, 9, and 1 are belly. So the 8, the 9, and the 1, the 8 and the 1 in particular have an anger. They can express anger and they feel it in their belly. It's actually a sensation they get. The 9, even though it's in that group, doesn't really, is actually sort of avoids the anger, represses the feelings in the body. So for a 9, they really need to learn to get in touch with, what is my body telling me right now? The 2, 3, and 4, especially the 2 and the 4, they work from their heart, very heart-centered people, want to connect. 2s want to help. 4s want to connect, but don't worry about fixing people. They just want to sit in the sadness. They're okay with that. They actually are the highest EQ on the Enneagram. They can be melancholic and not feel like that needs to be fixed. They're the kind of person who can just sit with you in your pain and not think that you're broken or want to fix you. A lot of them are therapists, counselors, and that 3 in between. There's a theory that gets pulled, like that the heart center gets pulled to the 2 and the 4, like the 8 and the 1 kind of pull that anger from the 9. The heart center, that like deep emotional connection, gets kind of pulled from the 3, and they're all about achievements. So when you were talking about, there was something not egoic in the chakras here, but it made me wonder, maybe the 3 is in there somewhere. And then 5, 6, and 7, head centered. Again, 5 and 7, super into planning. 5s are investigators. They love to learn. 7s think about what's next and way up in our heads. And the 6, that energy is pulled away from the 6, and they can spin in anxiety. That being said, they have this beautiful ability to think about community and, what are they going to get behind and help solve for the world. But they're more community based. So, I do believe there is a connection between those centers and the types based on head, heart, and belly. But why don't let's transition to the types that are in human design. I'm curious I think there are 5, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'd like to hear the nuances of those and see what we find there.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think about a correlation between Enneagram type or human design type. And in human design type, depending on the school of human design you come from, there are either 4 or 5 types. I really accept that there are 5, so we'll go with that. So if we look at the types are manifester, projector, generator, reflector, and manifesting generator.
Okay.
And
that 5th one, the one that's the new the manifesting generator, is that
Mhm.
the new school, or is that the one that's the fifth, or is that
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the ultra traditionalists of human design, they see the manifesting generator as essentially just a subtype, or a sister type to the generator. They're a generator. It's just they happen to be a manifesting generator.
okay?
So yeah, but yeah, I think more and more people are recognizing the manifesting generator as its own type, particularly kind of more modern interpretations
Mhm.
of human design. So yeah, if we correlated them, I guess roughly, it seems like there have been some sources that have actually explored this correlation,
Okay.
and manifester somehow maybe lines up with type one, the reformer.
Mhm.
Projector is maybe seen as type two. The generator is seen as type three. Reflector type four.
Hmm.
The individualist, and then manifesting generators. You know, there seems to be a correlation to type 5, but I'm not convinced of that either. I think that, there's probably more, I don't know, the kind of type 7, frankly, I feel is more appropriate. But
Okay.
there again, um, it's really difficult to correlate the types in human design to the types in um, in the Enneagram, just simply because in human design, type really talks about how you operate out in the world. And it's
Tell me about the manifester. Because everyone has these opinions. I'd like to have my own. So I'm
yeah,
curious, what a manifester is, because
so
it
yeah,
actually could be a one with a wing two, or a one that's done some growth, or I'm interested in, tell me
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So manifestors make up about like roughly 8 to 10% of the world's population. And they are the only type, the Nike slogan, just do it. They are really the only humans on the planet that should be just doing it. Even though we're all, kind of pushed in that direction, they are the only ones that are really designed to initiate based on urges or inspirations or ideas that they get. They're really here to kind of bring inspiration to the rest of the types, who then take it and kind of run with it.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So
I'm gonna have to write this one down. Sorry.
absolutely. So yeah, the manifester, and then naturally we usually talk about the generator next, just simply because the path, when we think about um, how humanity is here to bring inspiration into form, generators are really kind of the builders, the doers. And so the manifester needs the generators to really like bring the inspiration into the material world, into form.
Okay.
And the generator needs the projector. The projector is really here to guide and direct energy. Like if you had a film set, the projector would be the director. And
So what,
they're really
what was the
they're
percentage of generators? Because I know you said 8 to 10.
so yeah. So generators roughly 33%, 34%. Kind of the same with manifesting generators, anywhere from 30 to 34% of the population, depending on who you ask.
Okay.
um, but yeah, so generators and manifesting generators have a lot in common, obviously. But they're really the ones who are here to, yeah, to like do the work of the world. They have this defined sacral center. And of course, the sacral center is that center of life force energy. None of the other types have that center defined 24/7. And so the generators and manifesting generators are here to find work, and whatever the definition of work, we don't have to get into, but they need to find something in their lives that they can pour themselves into, that they get great joy and satisfaction from. Not that it's not challenging. And in fact, challenge is definitely a part of everyone's path, but they're not here to, work under the yoke, as way too many, I think, manifesting generators, probably manifestors, projectors, and reflectors are doing. They're, in, incorrect work, misaligned work. But for generators and manifesting generators in particular, they rely on that sacral center to guide them. It's like an inner compass. And you talked about a kind of an inner feeling with, I think, the type 8 and 1.
Mhm.
So the generators and manifesting generators rely on their what we call gut response
Okay.
to guide them through life. So if they are not tending to that part of themselves and not following what we would call yeses and nos, the things that pull them along, and essentially avoid those things that feel contractive, that feel like lead in their gut, that feel like, or nothing, that feel like they have no response to, then yeah, they're essentially living a misaligned life following those, what we would call no's. It's a binary response. It's either a yes or a no.
Is that a somatic feeling for the generator?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Mhm.
that is definitely, like, when we talk about gut response, it's
Mhm.
that kind of feeling in your center, in your belly, that it's like, yeah, some people describe it, some generators and manifesting generators describe it as a fluttering. Some are, physically kind of pulled, almost towards something. Others, it's a rising up. But yeah, and that's, I think, one of the tests for these types is understanding what that feeling is and what a yes feels like.
I was just
Because,
gonna say, because there is a difference between the yes and the no that they have
yeah,
to discern. Okay.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so
And
what
if they're,
about go ahead.
yep.
No.
Oh, no, go ahead. What
I
were
was
you going
gonna
to?
ask you about the reflectors because I'm
Yes.
curious about those.
So the reflectors are really interesting. They make up 1% or less than 1% of the world's population. And reflectors have no centers defined in their charts. They have only undefined centers. They have what are known as gates. They have gate definition, but no centers. And that means they're really, at the whim of the environment. And that makes them tremendous um, reflectors of the environment, of kind of what's going on, of the people, the health of an environment. And so I think of reflectors as sort of the world's consultants. They are really great at sort of taking the temperature of a space, reading the room, if you will, and having a lot of wisdom, being able to see all of the moving parts.
Mhm.
And they have the most unique decision making process. They're designed to actually um, to respond to the moon, as opposed to the sun, and so their decision making process reflects the phase of the moon cycle, and so they're actually encouraged to wait to make decisions over the course of like 28 days. So, like, a really challenging, but interesting process.
That's really interesting.
No quick decisions for reflectors.
Okay. So let me try to tie some of these types in with our type with the Enneagram.
Yep.
Because I would not have gone with the 1, 2, 3, 4 like some people have.
Yep.
We have arrows, we have wings in the Enneagram. So our personalities are nuanced based on our wings, based on our instincts, based on
Mm.
obviously experience. So, there aren't 9 people in walking around in the world. There are way more different personalities than 9 or 5, right? As we all know.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious about the reflector. The Enneagram, the type 9 sits at the top and has this sort of world view,
Yes.
and is repressed in both the head, heart, and body centers. So the last one that they really can tap into, the best one they can tap into, is not their body, but their heart and their head are kind of there, and then body. But getting them to make a decision. I have a 9 child, and
Mhm.
getting him to make a decision, because he just doesn't feel like he has a seat at the table, but he can see
Mhm.
everyone's perspective. And to get just a teeny bit spiritual, in the Enneagram, the 9 sits at the top and is kind of closest to God, because they can see all of the perspectives. They can see, and the Enneagram is the 9 faces of God. So each person, each type is representing a piece of God
Oh,
that
I love that.
I know. I
And
love
yes, I love this correlation, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because human design has what are called Godheads, if you get really deep into the system and study. So yeah, there are maybe some correlations there. We'll have to explore another
Yes,
time.
yes, we will. We might do a 10-part series on
Oh
it.
my gosh, I can totally see this happening. But yes,
So, are the
it's
reflectors
really
the God, the God?
yes, exactly. I totally see that, lining up,
Okay,
the peacemaker, the type 9,
yes.
and, but again, you know, there are so many reflectors out there that may resonate more with, the individualist, the type 4.
Well, I wondered
Uh,
about that too, because they are both there are 3 withdrawn types. It's the investigator, the individualist, and the peacemaker. So we
yeah,
do all kind of pull back and observe, and regroup. So I wondered, when you were talking about the reflector, if that was a 4, but they are so heart centered that I don't think that they would be undefined there in their chart. I don't know. It would be really fascinating to get a group of people who know their Enneagram type to do their charts, because I would love to see that.
yes.
That
If we see a pattern emerge.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I think, yeah, that could be really fascinating.
yeah,
I think what it comes down to is, you know, human design isn't really a personality framework, but rather an operating system. And it really reveals how we function and how we function best, how, we're most aligned, and how we can encounter less resistance, if we kind of follow that design patterning. Um, where I feel like the Enneagram, has more psychological and personality kind of um, roots and expression. So,
so it's
yeah.
definitely considered a psycho-spiritual tool. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm curious, this is bringing up the strategies part of human design, and I'd like you to talk about that, and then I can kind of talk about how the Enneagram is that blueprint for personal development and spiritual growth. So I'm interested in the strategies part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you know your type, you also learn your strategy. So type and strategy in human design are interconnected, they go hand in hand. And of course, the practical application of this is, it's so fantastic. It provides very practical ways for improving our personal or professional relationships. Um, you know, First and foremost through a better understanding of ourselves and how we are designed to operate, but also recognizing that there are other people who have different strategies. And so obviously, that can be really beneficial to understand, like, oh, they're not trying to frustrate me or piss me off. This
Mhm.
is just their strategy. This is just who they are.
Mhm.
Um, but it really does give you a very simple, way of being. a way of moving through life, and decision making, which I think is a huge part of it. Strategy in a small way does speak to decision making as well. We get into authority, human design authority, which is a whole other aspect. And it's fully dedicated to decision making. But yeah,
Tell me what what kind of strategies your type uses.
so I am a generator type, and with generators and manifesting generators, they share a strategy, and it literally is to wait, to respond to kind of the universe, to what shows up, and that response being either the yes or the no. You
And
know,
feeling that.
in your gut, exactly.
Okay.
So again, it's simple, but not necessarily easy. Um, because
My
learning
right?
what a yes feels like, because so many of us have, lived our lives without paying attention to our bodies and what they're telling us. Particularly we type fives,
Mhm.
are really reliant on our mental side. And so human design is very body centric, where particularly where strategy and decision making are concerned. And
Certainly, 66% of the population needs to rely on that, right? I mean, that's
yes,
right.
yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. There is not a single strategy or decision making authority in human design that has you relying on your mental capacity or on your head. So
Okay, so
it is
this
all reliant on, paying attention to,
what's
something internal.
mhm. So the spiritual side of the Enneagram is fully on board with this. We do a three-centered practice, which tries to bring attention to our gut, heart, and head.
Okay.
So if you're obviously each one of us is a type that is a little bit more reliant on one of these centers. So the idea of this practice is to balance them and to start sensing what is happening in this moment. It is
Mm,
all about the present moment,
yes.
right? So instead of going to our reactions as a five, it is about, okay, what am I sensing? How should I respond really with love and grace? I mean, that's
Yes.
what it comes down to, is that there is an inner authority from a higher power that will guide you through this life. And that that's just truth. That's capital T truth. So,
Yeah,
right?
I think we found the correlation because, yes, this is, one of the core teachings, if not the core teaching of human design, that there is an authority. It is a direct connection to, you know, something greater.
Mhm.
And the beauty is that you don't have to be in the driver's seat. You can essentially allow, the inner compass to
To guide.
take, to drive. And
Yeah,
your amazing mental capacities can be along for the ride.
sure.
Uh,
But they also can get in the way. I mean, that's what our neural habits are, all on every Enneagram type has a neural habit.
mhm.
And it's not true. It just is. It's
Yeah.
just the way we were brought in this world to deal with our core suffering. So we
Yes.
can learn to quiet that and get in touch with really what's happening in this present moment. With the Enneagram, you have options because of those inner lines. They are a guiding force that you actually have access to. So for us, stepping into our power and into our strength of the eight, because the five has an aligned to the eight. That's our growth arrow, and just
Mhm.
having the capacity to know that I have the capacity to do this, like us today.
Yes.
Stepping into something that is not something neither. I mean, I know you've done them before. This isn't my thing, but I'm stepping into it because I find it to be such an important thing to do, to teach people about the Enneagram. And together, here we are, hopefully changing someone's, mind about what we offer to the world, or
Yeah,
that they have the ability to get, tap into this. So
absolutely.
that is a little bit, the Enneagram does have some guidance in there based on your point and your inner lines. And so that is a little bit different, but I do love this whole idea of, getting back to this moment. That's the most important thing.
Yes, yes. That's truly one of the core teachings as well with human design, because yes, when you are not paying attention to what is happening, then yes, you're missing those messages. You're missing that connection to that authority, that part of yourself, that strategy. And yeah, you're very likely ruminating on the past. There's anxiety about the future, and yeah, you're missing the moment. You're missing the pure joy, the fun, the success, the satisfaction, the surprise of of what is here. And you may be missing opportunities. You may be missing connections. Yeah, there's so much in the moment that is, that brings your authenticity to life. And yeah, the traps of the mind, really pull us out of um, that trueness to ourselves.
No doubt. And you had mentioned the word mechanical.
Yeah.
Um, and that we do talk about machinations, which is this sort of
Mm.
machine-like way of being, right? The whole
Yes.
idea of the Enneagram is not to put you in a box and tell you about your personality. It's for you to understand the box you're in so you can get out of it. So, the idea of personality is actually, it's pulled us. That suffering has pulled us away from source because we believe the stories that we're telling ourselves and they're not true.
Yeah.
So it sounds like human design and Enneagram, obviously two different systems, but both beautiful in their own way. And I'm so grateful that you came today to share your expertise with me. I learned a ton.
Oh my God.
I've never had my chart done or anything. So
Ooh, well, we'll have to remedy that.
definitely. I think that would be a lot of fun. So
Absolutely. I would be delighted and honored,
I would love
to give you that insight.
that. Sweet. Well, that'd be great. So I don't know how this chat thing works. I will, when this gets posted, I will put Gwen's contact information. If you felt like there was something about her that you wanted to connect with, which clearly I love connecting with, I will make sure that you get that information. And just know that we cannot do this work alone. So please reach out to, oh, there she goes. She did
I
it.
was going to say, I popped some stuff in for Julie to share, but
Okay.
yes, one of my favorite things, I am a co-founder of an AI group and I love AI. And so there's a way for you all to get your human design chart and also be able to chat with an AI that's actually trained in human design. So I'll be sharing that link, or Julie will. Or if you just want to get your chart, we'll do that as well. You can just get a chart and we'll share a link to that. And then for 5 lucky people, I am going to be giving away a full human design report. So I do these reports for a lot of people. They're valued at $150 roughly. I usually sell them for $147. So, and it'll share like the great, deep, major foundational kind of insights into your energetic blueprint. They're usually 25 to 35 pages. So to get that, find me on LinkedIn. Let me get that link in there too.
Okay, I think I just did it.
Did you?
Thank you to everybody who's been on here, and we purposely didn't look at the chat because I didn't want to be distracted. I have a tendency to go to 7, which is this. Ooh, what's next? What's next? That's cool. So I really appreciate your patience with me and trying to figure this out. Melissa, thank you for coming. Lori,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, and and I just posted that into the chat. And thank you.
Absolutely. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn, shoot me a message, include HD report somewhere in there, And yeah, I'll pick 5 to get that report to. So
Sweet.
I look forward to hopefully fielding those. And of course, Julie, you and I will just have to get together and do a reading. Who knows? Maybe we'll record it and share it.
Ooh,
That'll be
that would be
completely up to you, though.
No, I would totally do that. I'm fine with that. I'm learning to share my feelings a little bit more. So awesome. Well, for all you who came, thank you so much. Gwen, thank you. I'm actually going to close this chat so we can, hold on one second, and then I can do that, and then I can do that. Okay. All right. Yeah. Awesome. So we've got this taped, and we'll share it, and I'll send you that link. And this was great. Thank you so much, Gwen. I'm going to end the stream. Okay.
Sounds great, Julie. Thank you so much again.
Bye-bye.